Separated by cosmic cabinets, Brandon, Paul, and Logan are broadcasting the Nintendo Stuff Podcast live using their telepathic powers. My name is Brandon Miracle, broadcasting live from the Break Room Arcade. If you look south of me in the video version, you'll see the wonderful face of Paul Anderson, broadcasting live from the Break Room Clubhouse. If you look to the right of me in the video version, wow, Logan, you're taking this inquisitive thing further and further.
Wait, where is it?
Logan Welliver, broadcasting from the Break Room bedroom. He's doing a bit. Hyrule Historia, yes. A good read if you haven't.
Do I look intelligent? I think I look intelligent. Read
Welcome
more books.
to the Nintendo Stuff Podcast, broadcasted live on August 17th, 2018.
17th.
This is the 7th episode of the Nintendo Stuff Podcast, and we got a lot to talk about. We're still talking about the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Direct, because how couldn't you? Diablo 3 is coming to Nintendo Switch. Big announcement from this last week. And a small peek into Nintendo Switch Online NES game functionality. So we got a lot of that cool stuff to chat about. But before we start getting into that other stuff, we always like to give you that rundown of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate blog. And this week was pretty much just, hey, this is the Smash Ultimate Direct again. All of the reveals or the posts pretty much just had to deal with stuff that Sakurai has already shown us in the Nintendo Direct. First post of the week was Richter Belmont from Castlevania.
Fire Emblem.
Oh, right. You're exactly right.
And it's richer.
Exactly.
Please, get it right.
Richter from the Castlevania series joins the battle as Simon's Echo Fighter. His basic attacks are the same as Simon's, but with subtle variations. In addition to that, his holy water is a different color. I
didn't know
Holy water is
colors.
a different color? Good.
I didn't know it could change colors. I thought it'd just be clear.
His is blue and Simon's is red.
Yeah, holy water
orange.
has to have a very distinct
Smell.
tone. No, tone
Oh.
to it. Color tone, specifically.
I figured it was one of those.
Unless
senses.
it makes sound, then maybe they have different resonant frequencies.
A cool thing to note about Richter, and Sakurai said this in the Direct, is that some of Simon's moves come from Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which is Richter's game. So there is a little bit of disparity as to who is actually echoing whom. And I think that's kind of neat. And in order to kind of alleviate those pains, they just introduced both characters together with Richter as an Echo Fighter.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the point with Echo Fighters that I do not. At first, I was like, "Oh, they're like inferior, or they're like tacked on," but it's like with their animations, the sounds, even with, I mean, the fact that somebody like Chrom is just an amalgamation of a bunch of the Fire Emblem characters. These characters still feel very distinct, like really distinct, and so they don't feel less significant. So again, introducing both of them at the same time, it was. I think that was a great move. It was a really good move.
Nikolai says, it makes sense if they chose Richter first. Isn't he more popular in Japan? I didn't know who Richter was before the Direct, so I
I was
can't
just about
honestly
to ask,
answer
like,
that.
is he popular anywhere? Like,
He's infinitely less popular here, I would imagine. That said, his fans are very vocal, as I've come to find out.
Yeah, I feel, I've been thinking for a little bit that I was gonna do a little bit of editing with that little bit, and just kind of highlight that, because that was a good moment. It was a good moment.
Oh, I had my own plans for that. Don't beat me to
well,
that punch.
I mean, we should have a conversation about it to maximize the quality.
Okay. Well, Moose Man wanted us to talk about Abra, and the good thing is Abra was the post for the next day. So today's item, Pokemon Abra. Abra will ensnare a nearby fighter and teleport them to a random position on, or even off, the stage. Look out!
I'm ready for Abra. I just want to get, randomly teleported places. It's the dream for Smash.
I like how they show in the Direct, like, he teleports somebody over, like, a bumper or something.
Into the black hole.
Yeah, that. I think I even saw one where he bops him out into a launch star, so...
This is going to make for a lot of really great random moments. I can already feel it.
This always brings me back to, like, pro play, and I get like why we turn items off, you know, for certain, if you're trying to gauge who's better and stuff like that. But
Sometimes you just need to have fun.
yeah,
Just
that's
turn on
that's really
items.
what the items are, is they're just a ton of fun. And so seeing just a bunch of zany Pokemon do a bunch of zany things on a screen, and it makes for a lot of chaos, and that's really fun when all of a sudden like you're doing pretty well and you can't anticipate that somebody's going to throw a Pokeball and this specific Pokemon's going to pop out. And so in this case it's Abra, right? So just it's a really good prospect.
Yeah, and I like how new Pokemon aren't limited to just Pokemon from the newest generation. Like, Abra's from Gen 1, yet they added him to the game.
Yeah.
He's got a unique ability, which I think really makes this a good selection. A lot of times it just doesn't feel like Pokemon really add that much, but this seems like it'd be a really fun addition to a match.
Yeah, to me, this almost seems like this could be like a legitimate stage hazard, or it could be like an isolated item all of its own. It's that unique of a concept for the game, and I'm really happy that it's here. Thank you, Anime Gumball, for subscribing. I missed your name there. I hope I said it right. And Rhythm Jack for subscribing. Thank you both.
Back to back.
Yeah, seriously.
Let's
go. Moose Man says, so sad, Abra got reconfirmed playable. What? Did I miss the joke?
You probably missed the joke.
Thank you, Wolf
There's
Cry,
something
for
going on.
subscribing. Okay. 3 subscribers back to back. All right. Thanks. I'm not entirely sure that's actually what's happening.
But it's okay, because this next item is the best this week, in my opinion. Today's music on August 14th was, you can now listen to Gangplank Galleon from the I can't read, guys, I'm sorry. From the last boss battle in Donkey Kong Country, arranged by Ace. The remix even includes a rap. And I don't know about you guys, but every time I go to listen to this, I cannot stop listening to this.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting the rap part. So when I got to that in the song, I was like, oh, it's like a sequel to the DK rap.
Right, and so it fits, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know I love Donkey Kong Country. So, and I love music. And so when you get the music of Donkey Kong Country, I mean, the soundtrack for that game is so good. And this arrangement is fantastic. And that little nod, right? Because that rap is totally a nod to DK64's opening rap.
Yeah, and this song they've kind of attached directly to King K. Rool. Obviously, it's the last battle theme from Donkey Kong Country. But when you look at King K. Rool as a character, they draw from all 4 of his major appearances, including Donkey Kong 64. So it's nice to see that they're kind of rounding out those connections even in the additional media.
Right.
I think the first thing I do when I get the game is I'm going to go to every Donkey Kong stage and just turn this on to most frequent and turn the rest down. Maybe like just rarely, just give them a little bit of a chance, but like if this isn't playing 90% of the time, then I'm going to be upset.
That sounds like a really fun way to structure your listening experience in Smash. Is just make everything super rare except for like your favorite like 1 or 2 tracks.
I think
and so
I did
when
that
you get
in
something
Brawl.
else, it's like, oh.
In Brawl, I really liked the arrangement of Song of Storms. And I can't remember if that played on Bridge of Eldin or if it played on Pirate Ship. I think it played on Pirate Ship, and I turned off all of the other music and just left it at Song of Storms only.
That sounds like something I would do. I get in like the mood of like one song, and then like I will just listen to that song, and it usually be like on the way to work and on the way back to work, but just like that one song on repeat. So this is something that might happen when I'm playing.
Moving us forward, we got today's stage, August 14th, Dracula's Castle, one of the stages I'm looking forward to the most, probably. On this stage, various characters from throughout the series, Castlevania, will appear as guests, and you can get items by breaking the candles, also like Castlevania. Including new and classic tunes, this stage has 34 total tracks to listen to. We've got one Castlevania stage for you, and we made 34 songs for it, so here you go.
Yeah, they made note of the fact that, oh yeah, our team was really, really big fans of Castlevania.
Well, they didn't put a lot of tracks into it for the
overboard.
stage. They didn't really care much for it, clearly.
No,
Yeah,
obviously this was an afterthought. There was no forethought into putting this in the game.
They actually added in. They started by adding in 34 tracks, and they're like, "Oh crap, we should probably make a stage to go with this." And then the stage was the afterthought.
Yeah.
I love the bevy of monsters that they show in the Nintendo Direct because there's a whole lot. This stage has a lot going on. For being so simple,
we're gonna be the same.
Honestly, I feel like that's them bragging at this point because like once they were like, hey, we should like have like a stage hazard toggle, you know?
That's
and then
all Sakurai
like,
did in the Direct was brag with giant numbers.
Right. And then but I mean I feel like that in and of itself, like sometimes you don't put too many hazards in a stage because it might become overwhelming or annoying. But then at the same time, I guess this isn't any like more extreme than something like Pokemon Stadium. You'll probably just get it one at a time or something like that. But that'd be crazy if they could have multiple at one time. That'd be intense.
I'd be fine with just one at a time.
It depends on like how much they
I'm
do.
Anticipating.
Like if
but yeah, he had to have these brags all throughout that Direct because he has to like prove to people, hey, this is this is the ultimate Smash Brothers game.
If anybody actually
this is new, darn it.
Port at this
Quit saying it's a port. Look at the stage. There's 7 monsters. It's not a port.
And they also showed, obviously, they showed Dracula. We don't know for sure if Dracula actually shows up on the stage. He might. Like, it seems to us already that Dracula and Rathalos are going to be isolated bosses in some other mode. That said, they did introduce Dracula when they introduced the stage. That makes me wonder if he doubles as a stage boss and a boss, much in the way that Rathalos is an assist trophy and a boss.
When you beat all the other bosses in a row, then you unlock the Dracula boss fight for that stage.
Oh, that would be cool.
I'd kind of be into that.
Yeah, I would also be into that. They also showed off an additional silhouette in addition to Dracula, and the old internet has found out that it is actually Kid Dracula. It's a 1-to-1 image of Kid Dracula, actually.
Aw, I didn't know he had a kid.
I believe Kid Dracula is its own series, and they just kind of tacked it on there.
Interesting.
Kind of cute.
Works.
Yeah. Very cute for a kid.
Speaking of cute, we have Chrom on the next day.
Hey.
I'm down with Chrom. And this, okay, I'll just keep saying this. I feel like he's hardly an Echo Fighter. I mean, yes, he's derivative, but he's an amalgamation, and then I feel like that just makes him unique enough. And then I feel like
that makes him better than all the other Fire.
They had to change his up special though, because like Chrom uses Ether in Awakening. That's like his critical attack.
Right.
So for him to not have Ether as his up special would have been a disservice to his character.
Right. And so like it's an Echo Fighter, but is it really? Isn't this just like who Chrom is, you know?
So they're crafting Echo Fighters without trying to lose what makes that character. And I think that really shows with Chrom and Dark Samus.
Yeah.
The protagonist of Fire Emblem Awakening joins the battle as Roy's Echo Fighter. His final smash is Awakening Ether, because they couldn't just call it Ether. Like Ether in the original game, this move has Chrom charged towards his opponent, slashing with his sword.
Yay!
What's funny, Paul, is you were like saying that you wanted Chrom to be an echo of Ike, and I thought that was an interesting choice because I love Ike and Ike's my main. But I was listening back to the old Palutena's Guidance conversations from Smash for Wii U, and the one for Lucina actually features Chrom in the conversation. He shows up and starts discussing it with Pit, Viridi, and Palutena. And I think Palutena or Viridi, one of them specifically mentions, man, he's a lot like Ike. And I was like, where are people getting this from? Am I just out of the loop here? So I thought that was kind of funny.
Looks like the way he carries himself, he just looks like he would kind of emulate that Ike moveset. But also, I just didn't want another Martha Echo.
No, I can definitely understand that.
It was more to get like something
different,
a little more unique. Spread the Fire Emblem out.
We've got,
and I mean, regardless, like I like what they end up doing with him more than just like a straight Ike Echo.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I have a really good question. If you guys, I guess you guys don't have as big of a history with Fire Emblem.
I mean, I've played 3 of the games.
Right, but like
Four,
I'm talking
actually.
about like I played like the GBA, the first like US release, like when I was like, you know, in middle school and in grade school and stuff like that. And I was thinking about like, okay, so we have a lot of Fire Emblem characters, but I don't think that means that it's off limits to have like one or two more like Echo Fighters or maybe even one more original character even, because there's such a bevy, you know, of like a huge selection, you know, of Fire Emblem characters to choose from.
People need to stop and think too. Like, they've only represented the sword class. There's 3 classes of, you know, melee users in Fire Emblem, including axe and spears.
Yeah, could you imagine getting like
Or
a
lances.
big like burly axe user, or maybe someone like a heavier like character who's got like really heavy armor on? And
Why don't we get
lance
someone who's on
user?
horseback, like Frederick?
I want.
Right,
I was just
yeah.
about to say I want someone with a lance.
So like
That's
we
all I
already got
want.
kind of like a mage user, technically with Robin, but also a sword user. We have a dragon with Corrin.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
Let's get someone riding a dragon as an Echo.
I think they're
but, like,
called
It's not just pure dragon.
I think there was the Lagoos. They're the ones that can transform into wolves. I think that'd be
I'm
kind
not
of cool.
familiar with that class.
I want to say that's what they were called, at least back in Radiant Dawn on Wii.
Yeah. So I mean, but even then, the question I want to ask, like, what if they did add like a new non-Echo fighter, like what would we get, or what would you want even, you know, like what do you think's likely, and then what do you want more than anything?
Well, I don't know what's likely, but Frederick is my boy.
I'd be
So if
into,
I could get
I'd be into
him.
that.
I really want Lynn. Just like I feel like you could make a
Isn't that a
different
sword
sword
user?
fighter. Well, I know, I get it. Like, and maybe not. Maybe she would be best as an Echo, right? But
Dream drop.
her presentation, I always appreciated. Like when she did a critical attack in the GBA game, like that was always the most intense animation, and that could be like I just want to see that in like Final Smash form.
Hear me out though. What if we had just a generic Fire Emblem character, one of those people that just randomly shows up into your party that you just like, he doesn't have a name, so I'm not attached to him, so he can just die at any point.
Like one of those characters you have to like protect or something.
But do it like Mii Fighter style, where there's like the 3 different classes, the main 3. So you have the sword, the lance, and like the axe.
That would be something else. Sakurai would be just
It's not gonna
straight
happen,
trolling
but-
at that point.
I
Generic Fire Emblem character is just the name of it.
I did figure out what Fire Emblem character I want. For realsies, probably Frederick, but Donald from Fire Emblem Awakening, he was just a
Okay.
farmhand, and I think he attacked like using, you know, just like farm tools, like a hoe or something.
Right.
Wasn't he like super weak and like
He gets
once you actually like upgrade him, then he's just ridiculous.
Donald is one of the strongest characters in the game, but he starts out as one of the weakest.
That's
I
so
struggled
funny.
so much to get him. Like the mission where you get him was really difficult because he kept dying. I could not
And then you
get
kept
through it with him
restarting.
being alive.
Do you guys play with permadeath on?
I didn't play with permadeath in Awakening, and
Me either.
I can't remember if I did with Fates.
Okay, because I mean, I understand that they added the casual and that they turned out permadeath, which is awesome. I mean, obviously it allowed the series to reach a wider audience. But man, I'll just always have that attachment of like that feeling of consequence, right? When you
I don't need the
screwed up, when you
heartbreak,
made a mistake, and you
My life is already sad
Well,
enough.
And then it's a question of like, okay, am I going to restart this mission so I don't lose them, or am I going to just accept it, you know?
See, that's
And
the one
sometimes you
thing
just
about
have-
Fire Emblem that I've never understood. There are a lot of people who are like super committed to playing with permadeath on, but they just turn their system off when their characters die.
Well, no, if a certain character
It's the
dies,
difference.
you just restart the mission. Because you want to, I think it's like a game of chess, right? You want to do it flawlessly. And that's the appeal. That's
yeah,
always been the appeal
but
for me. is
having
I wanna
permadeath
perform
turned
well.
off just makes it easier because you don't have to turn the game off. You can just exit the match.
Well, I mean, I still would just, you know, restart it and still.
See,
but
I still don't
it's
understand
it's
that.
It's I don't know. Maybe it's a pride thing. Maybe it's I've always done it this way, and it's like I might as well just keep doing it.
I mean, if that's the
way.
way you want to play, I'm not going to tell you not
there's
do
also
it.
Cool thing
sometimes-
is you can play
sometimes-
however you want. So Logan,
Right.
you can play when your
sometimes-
character dies, they
sometimes I'll
stay
let
dead, and you
characters
can
die.
turn it off and turn it back on.
Sometimes I'll let
Brandon, me and you can play, and if our character dies, they'll come back at the end. They'll be the Jesus.
I will let certain characters die. Maybe there'll be a character that, and maybe it's like that sadistic part of me too. Maybe like there's a character I find really obnoxious, and I just like I utilize them, and I try my best, and they die, and I'm like I don't care, and so I move on, and then somebody will get real sad because they like that character and now they're dead.
See, permadeath is like that's when you need those random villagers that you just don't care about. Like you are my meat shield.
you are
the meat shield line.
Yeah, here are all the expendables.
Keep the
You're the
people I
Pikmin I don't
about
care
alive.
about.
Keep the people I care about alive. That's all you're here for.
But also, like, if you allow that, you're limiting your resources, which can make the end of the game harder. And then, maybe that's like, like, oh, wow, I really screwed up,
You
But
can
then
like get
you
to the end of the game with only a couple characters. Not even enough
Yeah.
to like fill an actual match party.
Yeah. So I guess the appeal of permadeath is like, okay, you want a challenge, and two, you're not anticipating losing a ton because you're doing well. And if you're a purist, I guess you wouldn't go back. You would just allow it to happen unless you have, of course, failed the mission, and then you'd have to restart anyway.
Well, I mean, we're not done talking about Fire Emblem characters because we have to talk about Dark Samus. The best Fire Emblem
Fire Emblem
Exactly.
character.
So Dark Samus is going to be Samus's Echo. She was the last post of the week. Dark Samus joins the battle as Samus's Echo Fighter. With floatier movement, it's a little different from Samus, and it doesn't roll when dodging or jumping. If you look closely, you can see that its bombs and missiles look a little different too. I really like the way they've incorporated Phazon into Dark Samus's look. All of her like charge and fire attacks are just Phazon attacks now. And they're like dark purpley blue, and I really like the way it all looks.
The real question with this, though, is will she have a costume that's just regular Samus?
Over Dark Samus.
So if you don't care about the Dark Samus appearance, or you prefer that floatier style, but you like her original appearance, because I mean, like for Pit, I like Dark Pit better the way he's balanced, but I like Pit. So I just always switch to his white costume.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? I never thought about like color swaps for like some of these characters. I could anticipate for like someone like Dark Samus, the color swaps would be like the actual like lights, like the glowing parts, the blue glowing parts.
They showed one of hers in her screenshot showcase, and I think one of them does change the lights to like a purple color.
Right. And so
Ooh.
that's what I would anticipate for a color swap for her. Though I imagine that they probably have a few different shades of gray just to differentiate it a little bit more.
Well, that one, the suit was a different color too.
Okay, yeah.
So if it
how
turns
drastic
purple-
was was it like a huge contrast?
I think it was.
Okay.
I'd have to look again to make sure. What were you saying, Paul?
If it turns purple, then I wonder what her and Richter are doing to get those different colors, Like, what are they adding?
Pigment.
Did they dilute it with more water? I think they dilute it with more water.
It'd be interesting to me because obviously the lights on her are blue is because Phazon is blue, and Phazon
Right.
gives off a light. So if you change her color and the color of her suit changes and the lights change, would the color of the Phazon change too? Because that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think they could go the extra mile. I mean, I can't imagine that it would be all too different. Maybe it's all tied to the same value. So all you have to do is just change that one value, and then, everything changes. I'm not sure how that would work.
And
Seems like the most logical way to go about it.
Yeah, and I mean, these are all Echo Fighters, and the way I understand Echo Fighters is that their properties are going to be different. So hopefully, those changes would be prominent enough. Samus has not been a popular choice in the last several Smash Brothers, or maybe, actually, I don't think any of them. Has she ever been a strong character? So maybe Dark Samus is finally here to alleviate the problem. Though
Please play as Samus. Here's Dark Samus. Play as Samus.
One of the issues with Samus is that she's really floaty in her fall speed. And then Sakurai specifically says floatier movement in the description, though he could also be talking about her idle animation.
Well, and yeah, well, I think that's dumb because people just need to utilize the floatiness. I've never seen...
It doesn't work well in Smash.
Well, yeah, but sometimes it works well, right? It depends on the stage. If you're playing on maybe like a flat stage like Final Destination, it doesn't work so well.
For the most part, competitive players are worried about when they jump, how long it's going to take them to get back to the ground again.
Right.
And the longer that takes, typically the better or the worse off they are.
Right.
Except for characters like Jigglypuff, where Hungrybox obviously has, found out how to make Jigglypuff viable.
Right.
And also be the #1 melee player in the world. So there's that.
Channel your inner Mewtwo.
Yeah. But that said, I hope Dark Samus is a little more viable than Samus. I also hope Samus is a little more viable than previous Samuses.
Yeah, because I really like Samus as a character. Like, I just think I like the way the character feels, and then I like just dropping like bombs with down B and just like floating around.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, there's that issue for competitive play, but I don't play competitively, so whatever.
And then one more thing I want to bring up with Dark Samus is that she is also adding to the roster of villains, which is something the Smash series has been sorely lacking.
Yeah, we've got a lot of villains so far.
3 new villains so far, I want to say.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
This is everything I wanted back in the Machinima days. Because there's 2 villains to choose from, and that was it. 3,
yeah,
sorry.
Why don't we start doing...
We had Bowser, Dorf, and DDD.
Can you count Wario in there?
Oh, Wario and Wolf.
He feels antagonistic.
They count Wario and Wolf as antagonists, I think. Because he was an antagonist in the Subspace Emissary.
So 5.
Yeah, but that's not a lot.
When I was making Machinima, come on, Sakurai. You didn't cater to me.
I mean, nothing's stopping you from making Machinima now, Paul. Quite literally nothing.
I'll go find my capture card. It's in a storage locker underneath shoes.
So yeah, I wanted to take a quick moment to mention that I saw this tweet earlier that was assigning like different values or different point values to different characters that could potentially come to Smash, and I filled it out.
Did you win?
I did in the end, I think. Let me pull up my tweet. The thing is, like, it really brought up all the characters that I personally think even have like the slightest of a chance of being in Smash at all.
Yeah.
So it actually made me really think about which are the ones that I would want to have in Smash Brothers. So I'll give you my answers really quick if I can find them.
Have you tried looking?
I am.
Use your anime eyes.
Nobody asked for your sass.
Oh, wait. So I said Banjo and Kazooie. And Banjo-Kazooie was over Geno. Geno was the other option at that high value. Well, actually, there's 6 options there. Sora was also up there, but ultimately I went with Banjo. I also said Skull Kid. He was a step down. That was over Rex and Pyra. I kind of stabbed myself in the heart when I did that, but Skull Kid is more important to me, I think.
You can't have everything.
Then I went a step down, and I had choices like Heihachi, Custom Robo, Paper Mario, Springman, Dixie Kong, and I went with Paper Mario, even over Springman.
I hate you.
I'm sorry, Paul.
You're dead to me again.
I saw Paper Mario, and I was like, that's my man.
I love Paper Mario. I'd take another Mario any day. We could use more. 7 Marios, 8 Marios.
Color Splash 2, gotcha.
And then step down, I had Ninten, Dylan, Conker, Octolings, Lloyd Irving, Funky Kong, but I went with Monster Hunter. And then on the final level, there's only 1 point for these characters. We had characters like Karate Joe, Blaziken, Ken, Steve from Minecraft, Dig Dug, an axe wielder from Fire Emblem, whose name I don't know, Cuphead, Viridi, Birdo, but I went with Slippy.
I was really hoping you went with the Lobster Man.
Nope, I went with Slippy. So,
fair enough.
It was interesting because it really made me focus in and decide, what characters meant the most to me. That said, like, these characters aren't like pitted against each other in the decision process, really.
Right. I mean, I guess they would be in terms of like limiting characters, like being like, okay, we can only manage this many characters. You know, we can't do every character ever. So certain things have to be prioritized. And that's why we got Ridley, because everyone wanted Ridley, you know, and everyone wanted K. Rool. And that's why we're getting these characters, you know.
Wonder how much of the roster comes from the fighter ballot.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about, okay, so let's say that there is a possibility that we get a third-party character from Microsoft, right? Microsoft has said they're open to it, so hypothetically, we could get one. And if there was anything, obviously, when you think Microsoft, generally you think like something like Halo, but obviously they have Banjo, which deserves the spot from, you know, I think deserves the spot from Microsoft, right?
Yeah, I mean, his history on the Nintendo 64
right
says it
but
all.
I was just thinking about like what happened if they were like, oh, bringing Smash, and it was like Master Chief and it wasn't Banjo. How much of an uproar
I like
would be.
Master Chief, but the quality of those games has not exactly been consistent recently, and that's not to say that shouldn't be a reason. That should be a reason,
right? Yeah, I was about to say there's some really bad Castlevania games recently
and Sonic games, but that didn't stop Sonic from getting in, and I wanted Sonic in.
Right.
So yeah, and I think that pretty much does it for Smash, except for one headline, one that is going to be interesting for some of you in the chat. Sean Schemmel, the voice actor at Funimation for Goku, says he has not been approached to voice lines for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
I don't believe him because he's the voice of Lucario.
He is the voice of Lucario.
So I think he is a liar.
That said, they could be reusing his Lucario lines from Smash Brawl or Wii U.
And they could be reusing Goku lines in that case. Like, you could make the same argument, but chances are we're not getting Goku anyway.
I don't think this means that Goku's not in Smash. I do think he's definitely been contacted, and he probably has actually voiced something.
Oh my gosh!
It's just not Goku.
If I had to bet my life on it, to bet my life on it, I wouldn't.
He voices Lucario. We're not saying for Goku. We just mean in general.
Right. Right. But I mean, even Lucario, like, they already have ratings. What
if I want him to say new stuff? What if I want him to be cooler?
What if I want him to say the aura, but in a different sound?
Yo, I bet they're cutting corners in small ways like that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean
But this is Ultimate. They can't cut corners.
This is Ultimate.
They're not allowed to have a budget.
Perfectly good lines.
Nintendo,
let's redo all the lines.
When Sakurai comes to Nintendo and says, "Hey, this game needs this," they need to keep throwing money at him.
Stop, Paul. I was trying to say
giant sack of cash.
I was trying to say something, Paul. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're a child.
You're a child. You guys are both childs. You guys are
children. You just proved my point.
No, you guys are childs.
That's enough about Smash Brothers.
End scene.
We're going to Act 2. We're going to general Nintendo news for the rest of this week. Let's see. We got a story from My Nintendo News. Splatoon 2 producer explains why Octolings are hurt by water. Can Logan, you want to give me the details for that?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't read this. I heard about this, and I was like, I thought it was really self-evident. Like, that was my thought. I saw this headline, and I just wasn't interested, because I was like, it's because what happens when you pour water on ink? It washes away.
It's because in the evolutionary process, they lost the ability to live in the water. Because they're part kids.
Right, but that was...
How many kids do you know live in water?
Justification.
That's the same explanation for Inklings, too, I think.
Yeah, they basically just copy paste. So that they evolved in a similar way as the Inklings, and that's why.
Yeah,
but
this is a neat little piece of lore, you know.
they can't survive in water because kids drown.
Because kids drown.
You can't be kid and a squid and not drown in that case.
Yeah, they never grow up to be adults, so they just never can swim. Except in ink, for whatever reason.
Also from My Nintendo News, Nintendo has achieved over 700 million hardware units sold. Is that total hardware across all?
Yeah, that's handheld, home consoles, everything.
Yeah, so it's a little over 300 million for the home consoles and over 400 million for the handheld. I
These
feel
are
like
fun numbers to look
and
at.
it's funny because they're
Yeah.
like way past like 700 million. But like, I feel like this is Nintendo flexing on Sony because Sony just hit 500 million like PlayStations like sold. And so like this is Nintendo flexing like, oh,
I mean,
500
that's cute.
million? Try a
It's a logical play.
700 million.
Like
Nice.
if Sony's gonna come out and give them their
Nice.
numbers and Nintendo is obviously higher, then Nintendo has to come out and say that.
Right, and it's
They're
such
like,
a
"That's
round
cute."
number too, because like
Good job,
yeah,
you.
they sold a little bit more. They weren't going to say 720 million, 722 million, or something like that. There was just 700 million.
One thing I wanted to point out here is how close the Switch is to surpassing the GameCube in total sales.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not like it was terribly difficult, but it's been such a short period of time for the Switch because it's just done so well.
Well, I mean, as soon as Switch does that, its ranking in highest selling Nintendo first party hardware starts going up, and that'll be a good sign for the system, I think.
I mean, it's already a good sign for the system. I mean,
Yeah.
look at what they're anticipating, and we're getting a Pokemon game this year and next year
2 years in
for
a
the
row.
Switch, and Super Smash Bros. At the end
I'm
of this
gonna
year.
guess that the
And-
Switch numbers are ultimately gonna look more like the Nintendo handheld sales because those numbers are much higher than most
Yeah,
of the
this
home
is-
consoles.
this is-
If it
gonna
can beat out the
be-
DS, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I
We can
think
at least
the
do the
DS
3DS,
is
you know?
only been outsold by like
PS2?
the PS2. Yeah, then just barely. They're very, very close.
I'm gonna go buy a brand new DS then.
So we're
I'm
two,
not done with this fight.
we're what? Switch launch. Are we a year and a half, 2 years, how far in are
I'd say
we?
about a year and a half.
Year and a
Yeah,
half.
yeah.
So at 20 million a
It
year
was
and a
in
half,
March.
that's pretty strong. Now, I don't think that doesn't outpace Wii's sell speed, I don't think.
I'm not sure, but here's the thing we should also consider is like you have to look. Okay, so I think it outpaced the Wii at the beginning,
It did.
or maybe just a little bit, but things come in waves, right? So depending on the release schedule, and the Wii was kind of an anomaly, right? Because it's weird because when you think of the amount of games that are on the Wii, it's mostly just first party, which has almost always been the case, but I don't know. I don't look back on the Wii as fondly as I think I'll probably end up looking back on the Switch. I think the Switch
That's
has a lot
what
more
we're getting. I've been
longevity.
looking-
Pokemon
It's like
game on this. Just wait till there's Pokemon.
I've been
Mhm.
looking back at the Wii like really fondly, specifically like very recently.
well, I mean I had my share of experiences, but it doesn't. I don't think it holds the same place as something like I think the Switch will be, at least for me, like it feels like the applications are more widespread, even though they're not as zany. And then also
Yeah.
like we have two controllers. It's essentially like we're other we already.
I'm not even so much
No.
coming from that standpoint, but just how much of a staple of my life it has been.
Oh yeah.
Like it introduced me to Monster Hunter. It served me my
right.
two very favorite 3D Mario games of all time.
Right.
Well,
Okay, I guess what I was trying to say is that like I think the Wii a lot of it was like it was front loaded, right? So the bulk of the sales were in its early years. Whereas I think the Switch will go on longer, and I think we'll get iterations of it, and then I think over time it will just surpass. I think it has more potential, a sales potential than the Wii did.
That's fair.
with that, let's see, coming from Nintendo Life, Nintendo shares an image of Super Mario Bros. 3 running on Nintendo Switch through the Nintendo Online service. This is like one of the first looks we've gotten since they since they showed it off for the first time, which was, a long time ago now. So just to reiterate, Switch Online will give you the opportunity to play multiplayer online with these NES games. You can pass the controller over to the other player.
Yeah, I was gonna say like these kind of features are going to be a lot of fun, because all of a sudden you're going to
There
just
will
be
be
able
some
to play.
streams of that stuff happening here.
Yeah,
by the way.
you're going to be able to play through classic games
with a friend.
with a friend. And I think, for a lot of the times, like, that adds so much value to these games, because a lot of people they're not like craving to go back and play these games. So now, okay, pay your $20 for your online. Also, you get a bunch of these games, you get online with your friends, because you're like, hey, I feel like we should experience these games. It feels more like an interactive museum of sorts. It's like, how can we allow people to experience these games and give them the greatest incentive to experience these games? And that's exactly what's happening. So
I look forward to losing all our lives.
constantly.
Hopefully,
I would love to play through Super Mario Bros. 3, but I'm just not great at platformers,
I like this because I need Brandon to carry me.
Right, exactly. We just
have
need
you ever
Brandon
seen
to
me
carry
play
us.
Super Mario World?
Yes. It's kind of nuts.
I don't think it should be human, but then I look at speedrunners, and then I wonder how I measure up.
Yeah, but that's rehearsed. This is the way you play. It's just pure skill. It's different.
You might have played a
haven't
platformer
memorized it.
before.
And
Super Mario World might have been the second game I ever
test,
played.
is being able to navigate that game on your own instead of just like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do.
That's true. Humble brag. Let's see. This story is a little less relevant now, but I do want to bring it up. Amazon UK listed a bunch of Nintendo Switch placeholders. We're getting this from Nintendo Everything. And people were taking that as a sign that Nintendo Direct was on the way. We were also in that position, thinking it was going to happen soon. Because of this, I'm not saying it won't. That said, there was another post. I think it was through Nintendo Soup, if I can find the...
It's right underneath.
Right underneath? Okay. I saw it down there earlier. It must have been moved.
Yeah.
I put them back to back so we'd know.
So Nintendo Soup, they say, this week we told you about several Nintendo Switch placeholders that popped up on Amazon UK, leading some to speculate that a Nintendo Direct was on the way. Upon further investigation, it appears that the placeholders on Amazon UK are exactly the same as the ones that appeared on Amazon US in 2017. They even have identical serial codes. For instance, placeholder 18 on Amazon UK is actually Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on Amazon US. In other words, these placeholders are at least 6 months old and are not an indication of a Nintendo Direct coming this month.
Good job, Amazon. Way to just kill my dreams.
Good job, Nintendo Soup, for bringing that out and letting people know.
I mean, regardless. I mean, these may not be an indication of an August Direct. But
that said, this has happened in the past, and it has indicated it before.
Well, yeah, but that also doesn't mean it's off limits, right?
Right.
Especially, I could anticipate maybe a here pretty soon with a few bits of information.
Did you say mini direct to cut you out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a mini direct. Like, it doesn't have to be a full blown direct, but I think because we're coming up on like Let's Go and Smash, like, I think we're gonna get more frequent smaller drops up until that point, and then maybe after they're out, a bigger one that's gonna outline kind of not 2019.
People keep saying that they expect Nintendo Switch Online to be detailed in a direct, and while that's entirely possible, I'm personally of the opinion that that's not going to be how they tell us what it is. Or, well, we know what it is, but,
there'll be some like
details.
informational video that'll go up on YouTube.
Exactly what I think is going to happen. So don't take Nintendo Switch Online as indication that there will be a Nintendo Direct. That said, I could be wrong, and they could talk about it in a Direct coming soon. I do think there will be a Direct between the middle of August and the middle of September. I do think that's happening. I don't think it relates to online.
There needs to be one.
This just doesn't seem like the kind of thing that they would typically attach to a Direct.
Yeah.
Like, the way they've given us all this information up till now, none of it has ever been shown in a video presentation.
What they will do with the Direct is when they feature games and online features, they'll talk about the online, and then they'll like replug it, and like, if you don't have it, $20 for a year. And then look at all these neat features and look at how they're used in these specific games, and they'll feature that in the Direct. But in terms of like the actual like information, like I think they'll just be one big informational video, and then that'll go up on the internet for anybody who needs to see it, because
That-
Nintendo Directs are like really directed at press and also at fans, right?
That said, like
and-
there's not a whole lot of Switch Online left to tell us. They have 10
Yeah,
NES games they haven't mentioned.
Right.
That's really it.
Yeah, and then at least for launch, who knows what form it will take, you know, as it evolves in the future.
The one big element outside of the 20 NES games, I think, is the Switch Online app, which we're currently operating on the light version of the app, and presumably when Switch Online launches, we'll get the full version of the application. That I could see them talking about in a direct, as it pertains to games, but who knows? Maybe there's a lot more we don't know about. I just don't think there is.
Yeah, I mean they could pull a bombshell and just drop a really cool feature that they've kept under wraps for a long time. Like obviously it got like delayed, and was the only reason for the delay because they were reworking how they were gonna structure the games and stuff like that instead of like
The
has that even
messaging on
changed?
the messaging on the game service specifically, I think, was a little skewed, and they wanted to rework that. That said, that could have been a cover up for something else. You never really know.
Right. So it seems weird to me that we've had to wait so long for this online service. Obviously, it's not terribly expensive, so I don't imagine that there being a terrible amount of features outside of that, and that's okay because that's already more than $20 worth for a year, right?
Oh, you know what? I got to give a quick shout out to my cousin. My cousin Dan just bought a Nintendo Switch. We've been DMing back and forth on Twitter. He was thinking about picking one up, and he was talking about wanting Zelda and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I was telling him what I thought and what he should do. And ultimately, he went out and got a Switch, and he picked up Breath of the Wild. And he sent me a friend request, and I've just been seeing him online playing the game like all the time. And
Yeah.
today I got a DM from him that his Switch has a dead pixel in it.
Oh,
So he has to
no.
return it. And when he returns it, he's
It's
going
gonna
to
erase his
lose his
data.
save data.
Oh yeah, cloud saves, please.
We don't get cloud
Cloud
saves to
save.
the middle of September. If it had lasted that long, heck, I should have told him just to wait.
Yeah, you should have told him just
Yeah.
to wait,
Well,
because if he was able to do that, then be able to save.
buy a second Switch until you get.
Or
I mean, if the return
think
policy
alternative-
doesn't last.
Yeah, I think alternatively, what he could do is he could make sure that his archived data is on like an SD card. I don't know if that would work.
As far as I know, you cannot replant archived data back onto another
Okay,
Switch.
that's disappointing.
I mean, there should be the Nintendo like hardware warranty. If it's a hardware issue, then it shouldn't necessarily have to be returned to the store.
That's true. But we've seen in past hardware issues, I think, didn't Brian Altano lose his save data?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's no getting around that, but
Yeah.
I mean that like he'd still have like probably 90 days to a year. Usually for hardware, it's a year before the like Nintendo's warranty would expire.
All my experiences with Nintendo's customer service has also been great, even like outside of a warranty period. Like my copy of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe just stopped, or not Deluxe, but Mario Kart 8 for Wii U just stopped working. And I ultimately came to find out that there was a hole all the way through the disc. Just the pin-sized hole all the way through my disc, just in one spot. And they gave me a full replacement for free.
Not
Oh,
bad.
nice.
I don't know why they didn't, accuse me of doing it, because, it would have been super easy for them to say, hey, it's
That's
damaged,
like
that's your fault.
Horrible customer service.
Well, it worked
mean-
when I had it for the first few months.
Right.
I mean, if it was like a crack, I'd understand that, but how you'd get just a pin-sized hole in there, like
I don't.
intentionally,
Yeah,
or even
I was about to
accidentally,
say.
like-
I don't think they.
And what do I have to
question-
gain for getting a replacement for a game I already own?
Right. So it's a little bit silly. They're like they probably didn't do that on purpose. So let's make him happy, right? So it's a little bit of a loss for us, but long term, that paints a good picture of the company and creates customer loyalty, and that's infinitely more
They do
important than the
care.
short term loss.
Not only did they send me my copy back, or not my copy, I sent them my game. They sent me a brand new copy back in its own package with no cover on it. And they sent me my original package back. So they just kept the disc and gave me my old game box. And I was like, okay, that's kind of sentimental. I'm into that. So, let's see. That was... What story were we talking about?
The
Nintendo Direct?
Nintendo Switch Online.
Oh.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right. When
I guess we were talking about the Direct. You're right.
Okay. Yeah.
The next one.
There we go.
Is from My Nintendo News comic book comic book New Super Mario Bros. I can't even speak, guys. I can't speak. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe could be coming to the Switch.
This comes from comicbook.com, which was sourced by My Nintendo News. Let's see. The game is rumored to be titled New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe and comes with New Super Luigi U add-on. It could also include some additional bonus content, but that is actually just speculation. And I guess it's also rumored it'll come this year. Not something I'd be surprised by, personally.
No, I'd be okay with this.
To sell during the holiday season. Just something to kind of fill out.
Yeah.
Not that you need a whole lot around Pokemon and Smash Bros, but...
You look at how, well... New Super Mario Bros. Wii sold, and you compare that to New Super Mario Bros. U, which sold on a failed system. Mm-hmm. This is like the comeback story of the century for this game.
Yeah. No, and again, it's a good game. And I haven't played through the entirety of it. So this is, again, I'm in the market for this kind of game. I was just talking about how I want to play a 2D Mario game. And specifically a new one,
it's been long enough.
I miss it. I'm ready for it. And so if we get a port of this game, that's totally great. And I hope that we get something. I want them to change it up a little bit. I want to see maybe a new art style,
like with a future release.
Yeah, and so still make it very Mario, but like. I don't know.
I've said this time and time again, but I would love to see them adopt the hand-drawn art style from the Super Mario Bros. 3 artwork and just use that as the base art for the game. I think that
definitely need to change up the art style with these, but I mean, for now, it's been a while since I've played a new Super Mario Bros. Game, and this was I had a Wii U, but I never got around to buying this game because I was just so burnt out at the time. But I think now, I wouldn't mind picking this up and playing through it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people... go ahead.
I'm hoping that this won't be $60, even though it includes that Luigi DLC, but...
It's going to be $60.
What if it was $50, though?
Nope. No,
I don't think it will be either, but I can dream,
That
guys.
said, the Super Luigi U DLC was $20 on its own. Yeah. So it's not a terrible deal.
It's going to be $60, and I'll tell you why. Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was $60. And
I think you're wrong because the best logic is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
More than it did on the Wii U, and it's still selling.
Donkey Kong Country was more expensive on Switch, right?
Yeah, it's $50 on Wii U, $60 on Switch.
And I think that's partially an image thing. The fact that they put it at a $50 tier, they were like, okay, let's sell it for $50. And so I imagine that a lot of people were like, oh, I guess that reflects on quality. And that game got looked over.
They do not want to do that with their first party games.
No, they will not do it. They will put it $60.
The same thing happened to Captain Toad.
If they price anything differently, it'll be like, if it's a real budget title, it'll be a $40 title. And then even then, I don't know, maybe you just want to price it at 60 just because it's an image thing. Maybe it's not worth the 60, but you get it on sale.
There will be some functionality missing from New Super Mario Bros. U. That game had Miiverse support, where you could put little posts on the map. It would show you posts while loading levels. There was also the boost mode functionality from the gamepad, where you could tap on the screen while someone was playing and it would create
the asymmetric gameplay.
So that would have to be completely removed, if not reworked to the core.
Yeah, or maybe they allow it with a second Switch.
Oh, that could work.
You could do that locally, and somebody could literally just be sitting on their Switch tapping it.
That's a good idea. Actually, I like that a lot. I wouldn't have thought of that. So hopefully they don't cut any content And if they do cut content, let's replace that content with something else, like they did with Captain Toad. They cut out all the 3D World levels, but they added in some Super Mario Odyssey levels to replace them. That said, I thought the 3D World levels were bad. Mostly because they just ported levels from 3D World and had you play them as Captain Toad.
Oh, yeah, that's cheap.
It was kind of
'Cause you
dumb.
can literally play those in, yeah.
The Odyssey stages were actual
weird.
Captain Toad puzzles, so I think it was better in the end.
Yeah.
With that, we'll move on quickly. Splatoon 2's next Splatfest
Hello, Splackfest.
is Fork versus
They're great.
Spoon. The ultimate rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, what are you guys' opinions? Obviously, we all end up on the same team anyway. because
Throwing it
we'd
to the
rather
chat.
just
I like
play
that
together.
because I don't want to answer this.
Okay,
I was
Chat,
probably
what
going
do
to
you want
say
a CSB?
I was probably going to say fork. That said, you can use your spoon as a fork, and your spoon has
Yeah.
additional functionality.
yes, see that's where I'm coming from. I'm leaning strong spoon, because that just makes sense. You literally made my argument just now. Because it's that simple, guys. It makes so
I want
much
to be Team Knife, but
Okay, we all know your sadistic tendencies, Paul.
I
but
can't wait to see all the
we have the
spork-
question here.
All the spork
I mean-
posts in Splatoon 2. They're going to be there. I guarantee it.
The sporks?
The sporks.
Oh, they're gonna be all over the messages.
Yeah.
Oh, why to choose?
it's the ultimate ship.
Like, moving on, let's see. Nintendo published game Fitness Boxing appears on Australian classification board. So, let's see. That's
I
really
guess it
all the
was a-
information.
It was a Wii game, and
Fitness Boxing was a Wii game?
it was
Why
supposed
would it- how would
to
it
shape boxing on the Wii, and I don't know.
Was that a Nintendo published game? Because this is a Nintendo published game.
I want to say it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is bringing back some of that kind of casual, activity kind of gameplay
Yeah, a
that we
little,
don't have.
little weird though.
It's
I don't know.
strange, but I think it fits the Joy-Cons pretty well.
Yeah, I think I'll say this: the Switch is really doing well with like gamers, and I think Nintendo probably after this year is probably going to be pushing at least a little bit more casual content. Obviously, we're already getting like Super Mario Party, Mario Kart's pretty casual as well, but like things like fitness games, and where's the Wii series, which I think should get rebranded as the Me series, like I want some of those games. Where's my Me Sports Resorts and my Me Play and that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't bring back Me Music.
I would
but-
probably pop off if they announced like Me Sports Resort in a direct, popping off at the most casual game in the lineup. Yes!
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean that would be so fun. Like I enjoyed those games, and there's a reason that they did so well, and so bring that back.
That brings us into our third-party / general news for the rest of the week. We'll start with the biggest news, I think, which is that Blizzard Entertainment and Nintendo have teamed up to bring Diablo 3 to the Nintendo Switch, also including some Nintendo exclusive content, such as the Legend of Ganondorf. I don't know if it's a character or a costume, but it looks cool. I don't know a lot about Diablo personally. That said,
We're going to know a lot about Diablo.
in the announcement video, I thought the announcement video was pretty cute. It had Reggie in a voice call with like the
He's
CEO of
adorable.
Blizzard.
Reggie's adorable.
That is
Yeah.
the way to describe a trailer for a game titled Diablo. It was cute.
It was
Yeah,
cute.
this was
I
this
know,
was the
it
cutest
was.
thing we've ever seen, I guess.
So like back in February, Blizzard tweeted like a demon head from Diablo, like a light
It's like
switch,
a night,
like a
a
nightlight.
nightlight.
And they kept turning it on and off. And people in the comments were like, switch, 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 because it was a light switch. And here we are, all these months later, after them denying it. It is
But
true. Diablo 3 is coming to Switch.
What if it wasn't like that wasn't their intention, but it planted the idea, all the comments? Like, oh, hey, people thought this was for Switch.
And maybe
Well,
maybe
the
for
game's been
Switch.
Can we
they've been
do that?
developing it for 9 months, so that can't be true. So that said, I'm pretty convinced this was a tease. Also, because they had Reggie's lights going out in the trailer or in the announcement video, I thought that was a pretty clear callback to that moment.
I love the naming scheme. I wonder if Nintendo like totally planned this. It's like, dude, we can totally like everybody will abuse the whole like, oh, switching things on and off, and because it gets abused to like no end, you know, and it makes sense. Like it's good marketing. Like, oh, we got it. It's our game's on the Switch now. Play our game on Switch. You've
It's
already bought
actually
it
for
3 other
streamers.
times, but
They
you want to
wanted
buy it
streamers
again
to
so
make
you can
cheap
play it wherever
puns.
you want to play it.
It's time to switch characters. Ha ha!
If you're looking for like a hardcore RPG to play with your friends, this is 4-player support, online and local play. So it's a good get, especially if you
Yeah,
like dungeon
and-
crawlers.
Yeah, and this isn't the only Blizzard news we got going on. There was some other conversations
Dark Souls!
being had, almost, but another significant Blizzard IP, Overwatch, was talked about. One of the developers was saying that it is in the realm of possibility, and that it is on the Overwatch developers. If they want to do it, then they can do it. Like almost like they just like, oh yeah, our teams have like a lot of freedom just to do whatever they want. And so it's feasible. And if there's enough demand for it, like there's no way that this isn't happening. You know?
I think Overwatch will inevitably come to Switch at some point.
I agree. I
Do
mean,
they
I think,
like money?
yeah, I was gonna say, like, they're
Well,
gonna make a lot of money.
Think of all of, like all their loot boxes are cosmetic. Think of all of the Nintendo crossover cosmetics that will be exclusive to the Nintendo Switch version. There's so much they could do
Right.
with that.
Yeah.
They're sitting on a gold mine.
Does Overwatch do crossplay?
No,
Okay.
as far as I know. Pretty sure they don't.
Well, regardless, this would be huge. This
Yeah.
would be huge. And I think the reason yeah, and it seems like almost an inevitability that it's gonna hit the Switch, especially after this statement. The fact that they're like, it's in the realm of possibility, and it's also just a really, the art style is very stylized, so it wouldn't be hard to downgrade it a little bit and just,
What if this was
polish out the edges.
What if this was him saying this? Because him saying this has opened a can of worms now. People are going to be like, Overwatch on Switch, Overwatch?
This
And
is
now
them-
it's pressuring the development team to put it on Switch.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost they're gauging. They feed the bear just a little bit, and then more bears show up, and then if they get enough bears, they feed them.
Oh, yeah, I don't think, to comment on what you said, he says if Paladins can run at 60 FPS on Switch, then it's fine. I don't think, running on Switch is even, like, an issue for a game like Overwatch, because that game can run on a potato.
Yeah, because like it's match by match. There's not like these big grand worlds, and you're trying to render everything at once, But it's like, okay, it's just I mean, there's some games that like they look great on Switch. I mean, or maybe they just go to panic button,
Hey, guys.
Like Panic Button
needs
has
to
done a
hire
great
some more
job. Rocket
people,
League
apparently.
runs like a dream on Switch, Solid 720, 60 FPS or 1080, 30 FPS if you prefer,
Oh, yes, and this story comes from GameSpot, by the way. Didn't want to forget about that. Moving on, Ubisoft director says he would bring Assassin's Creed Odyssey to Nintendo Switch if he knew how to program.
This is like a great deflection. Like, hey, are you gonna bring this to Switch? Well, I don't know how to program, so I guess no.
Man, I'd
It's like
really
that-
like to play this on my Switch.
Yeah, it's
Well, I
probably,
can't
and
program.
that's probably not a question that's up to him, Like a lot
No.
of times this is like a publisher decision. And so he's tasked with creating this game. And so he's voicing his like, hey, yeah, I would love to bring this game to the Switch. I think it makes a lot of sense. And then again, once he says this, everybody's like, oh, we want
Switch,
this. And
Switch,
then if enough
Switch,
people do
Switch.
it, then they're like, oh, well, let's see if this is a possibility. And if it is, then absolutely, because we're going to make money. Because that's what happens when you put games on a Switch, apparently.
He's trying to convince the person that can program on the team to just do it.
Right.
Yeah,
See, people want it, and I want money, so you're doing it.
it's increasingly more clear every week, like how much people want their games on Nintendo Switch, even these bigger publishers. And that's a really good sign just for everyone involved.
Yeah, this is like the most third-party support I've ever seen for a Nintendo console.
From the active third-party support. Like,
Well,
you know,
yeah.
we're over a year and a half deep, and you still have developers talking about bringing their games to Switch.
And also, we're not just getting like spin-offs. We're getting the actual games, you know?
And they're quality ports.
Mm-hmm. And so, like,
That
again,
said, a lot of it is because of Panic Button.
right, but the fact that Panic Button has made it possible, you know, and people are like, okay, this is okay, and nobody cares that it's like a separate company doing the porting, as long as we're getting the game, you know. I think the one game I'm thinking about all the games, the third-party games that are coming that I just want to get. Like, I really want to get Crash Bandicoot, and I really want to play Doom, though I'll probably just buy the original Doom on Steam because it'll be a ton cheaper than buying it on Switch. And then we'll just get Doom Eternal on Switch when it launches, you know? Something like that.
That brings us into a couple more stories of people bringing their games to Switch or thinking about it or
That's
not.
how the week started out.
Yeah, it really did.
Everybody's bringing their games to Switch.
There are currently no plans for a Switch version of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This comes from My Nintendo News. This is not a surprise to me at all.
Yeah.
The other two games aren't on Switch, so...
I mean, the first one I could see. I feel like the second and third wouldn't...
There needs to be some compromises.
They could work, but...
If they can run Doom, they can do it.
That second game, like the opening scene when you're walking through the snow, I think that would lose a lot of impact on the Switch.
Yeah, probably.
So, I mean, yeah, this game is a little bit more intensive graphically. And so, like, it's a question of, like, would it be worth it? And then here's what I think will happen is I think Switch 2.0 will drop in like 2-3 years. And then we'll just get a compilation of all 3 games on Switch 2.0.
The Tomb Raider collection.
Happen. Yeah.
They need to call it the Tomb Raider, like the Tomb Raider Portable Collection or something. Give it some kind of hammy name.
Then you put the portable at the end of collection. So you put collection
portable.
And then portable.
Rage 2 developers working out whether a Switch version is possible. This also comes from My Nintendo News.
Yeah. Why would you
guys
not
talk
consider
to Panic Button?
Why would you not consider
Panic Button?
A Switch port? So even if games aren't possible on the Switch, the fact that if you don't consider it, you'd be insane. That's the situation that the Switch is in. It's because not every game's going to be possible. But now everybody's asking, like, well, this is going to be pushing the hardware, and we're going to have to make certain concessions. Is this worth it? And a lot of the times, it seems like the answer is yes, and that's really exciting. So yeah, give me more Switch games. And so Rage 2, I haven't played the first Rage game, so I don't really.
I've never heard of Rage before Rage 2.
Yeah, Rage was weird because I remember seeing a lot of promotional material, but it kind of went the way of there was another like PS3 era game, Brink, that like it got ton of promotional material and then it just ended up being really mediocre, and then there was
turd.
Like tons of copies just lying around. That's kind of how I view the first Rage in a similar sense, though I don't think it was quite as extreme. But it wasn't received as well as everybody wanted it to be. So it seems like Rage 2 might be its like redemption if it ends up being really good. Also, I really like the coloring.
It looks like a fun game. It's definitely something I'd consider picking up.
So
bringing us
hopefully
forward
this one's good.
A little bit more. Couple Doom Eternal things to mention. Doom Eternal will feature a traditional multiplayer. Let's see, coming from game director Marty Stratton, he says the invasion stuff is just kind of one of the ways that we're going to make the Doom experience social, but we're not really going deep into that. We're working on a PvP component. It is new. It's not an extension of what we did last time, so it's new. It is something we're developing internally, which we didn't do last time. I think players are really going to enjoy it. Doom's multiplayer for the 2016 game was really not well received. So this is exciting to me that they're actually, taking that criticism and doing something with it.
Yeah.
They're not.
This is smart.
They're not ready to show us yet, but that's fine. They also had some stuff to talk about in regards to the protagonist and how he's faster and more powerful than ever. This comes from Nintendo Life.
That's what I like to hear.
Director Hugo Martin says he's got a shoulder-mounted equipment launcher, which is pretty awesome. I mean, the main goal is to make him faster and more powerful, right? And so now when you shoot out equipment like grenades and you saw the flamethrower, you don't have to take your hands off the guns. You can do it at the same time. That's really cool. I like that a whole lot. So the level of complexity to your attack patterns can change and be a lot higher than before. I like the idea of being able to shoot a grenade and also my weapon at the same time.
That just sounds fun.
Yeah.
That sounds so much fun.
He says this completely changes the feel of the game for the better. It gives you an opportunity to dash in for a glory kill, cover larger spaces. You combine that with the meat hook, the new demon grapple hook off the super
Meat
shotgun,
hook.
adds a whole new level to improv capability, improv capability to Doom combat. So they're basically saying, play how you want to play, and I like that.
Yeah, this is really cool. I wonder how this will change the level design and gameplay. Like, because obviously they changed those core elements, and they're going to change their design decisions based on that.
Well, Doom, like 2016, was all about aggressive, being in the monsters' faces, and just go in guns blazing, like the way you would imagine in your head.
This actually feels like tweaks made to enhance that.
Exactly.
Because that's what this game is already all about.
Well, and so, I mean, I don't really have a good reference because I haven't played, Doom 2016. I want to soon. And so, actually, I just got paid.
Think before you sink.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking hard because I also have a lot of other games that I'm playing right now. Regardless, I can't imagine that they won't take advantage of the new feel and design levels specifically based on the fact that he controls differently and that there's going to be more chaos, so it'll be interesting and I think I'll probably, that'll be on my mind as I'm playing through this game because I do plan on playing Doom before I play Doom Eternal.
Let's see, some other things to talk about. Panic Button says that they're aiming for 30 FPS on the Switch version. I think that's a respectable amount for a game like this.
Mm-hmm.
Got to blaze through a couple of headlines to keep us moving. I think we mentioned this already, but Shovel Knight is coming to Rivals of Aether as a playable character. He was the last guest character announced for that game, and I believe it's the last piece of character content coming to Rivals. But great get, I think. Shovel Knight is in the best possible Smash game that wasn't actually Smash Brothers. So good trade-off, in my opinion. And he got to be in Smash as an assist trophy, so everybody wins.
He gets the best of both worlds.
Yeah, Shovel Knight's gotten quite a bit of attention, especially for such a relatively new character.
I counted when this was announced, and I want to say he's in 17 games.
Yeah, wow.
And most of them as guest character.
I wonder how much Yacht Club's doing well for themselves.
It was some crazy high number because
right.
Shovel Knight's showing up everywhere these days. Undertale Collector's Edition is getting a September release in the West on Nintendo Switch. On top of that, Dark Souls Remaster finally has a Switch release date. It's coming out in October, so look forward to that if you were waiting during that original summertime.
I will be picking this one up.
A couple interesting stories from Sega, actually. This one comes from Nintendo Life. Nintendo didn't want the Yakuza series, according to Sega's Toshihiro Nagoshi. He says, I've never said this before, but while we released this game with Sony, I'd done presentations about it to Microsoft and Nintendo. Back then they said, no, we don't want it. Now they say, we want it, he laughs. They didn't understand the reason why I created it. And he also comments on whether it would release on Switch after the failed release of 1 and 2 on Wii U. He says, when it comes to Switch, I am convinced that it would not be the ideal platform on which to develop Yakuza games. Maybe the public is not expecting that kind of game on Switch. They may be used to different games. It may not be the ideal platform. I can kind of understand his reasoning, but I feel like that particular reason for Nintendo games and Nintendo systems in particular is fading away with the Switch. I think later in the Switch's life, maybe he'll change his tune.
I
We'll
can
see.
see that happening. I can definitely see that happening.
In addition to that, also coming from Nintendo Life, Sega wanted to impress Nintendo with F-Zero GX despite losing the hardware war.
That's cute.
Toshihiro Nagoshi, again, also says, compared to us, in the big picture, we are similar. But in the finer details, their decision-making and timing things are different, and I learned a lot from them. In short, it's about objectivity. It's hard to describe, but when I'd say about some part of the game, it's okay like this, isn't it? They'd say, our company does not allow this kind of thing, ever. I didn't manage to change their minds about anything, not even once. But that's why Nintendo has such a solid brand, even after all these years. That is why we lost the hardware war.
Wow.
In addition to that, he says, in reference to F-Zero GX, he says, after it released, I got a call from Nintendo. They said they wanted to see all the source code for the game, and wanted me to explain how we'd made that game, in that time frame, and with that budget, in detail. They were wondering how we'd done it. They couldn't figure it out. We were able to achieve something a lot higher than what Nintendo had expected. Even though we tried really hard making games for Sega hardware, they never sold too well. But F-Zero sold over 1.5 million copies worldwide. We realized the only thing we ever needed to admit was that Sega did not have the ability to sell hardware. He laughs here. That, as a developer, we did not need to be pessimistic at all. Some really great stuff in that, I think.
I think they definitely got some perspective out of the working with Nintendo.
I love that turnaround, too, after making F-Zero GX, and Nintendo was so inquisitive about how that game came to be. That had to feel really good coming, from the hardware failures.
And that's the thing. I mean, Sega's obviously still around because Sega makes some good games. Obviously, one of my favorite games from Sega, which is a classic on the GameCube,
Phantasy Star Online. Yes,
Super Monkey Ball. Woo! Also talking about a game on a budget. This game was very much a game on a budget. This is coming from Nintendo Life, but they just kind of took that and they expanded upon it. And this is the same dude.
Toshihiro.
Yeah. And I imagine this is probably all from one.
An extensive Edge magazine feature.
Yeah. And so apparently they did it super, super cheap. This is what he says. I told him we couldn't do it any cheaper, but at the same time, I was quite upset about it. I decided to make a game with a minimum resource, minimum time, and minimum budget. Looking back, that's no way to work, but they're huge fans of the game. The first one is really, it's a good game, but I don't think it even features like multiplayer in the first game. Like, it was literally just, here's the baseline and here's how much content we can create within this budget. And I think that's really cool. I like hearing stories about people having all these different constraints during a project and them making the best of that and just making something.
Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Yeah.
Apparently
and so
they had 10 people or less on the game.
Yeah.
For production.
So, and this is really cool because the sequel, Super Monkey Ball 2, it's great. It's great. They got the expanded story. There's like a ton of multiplayer modes. There's co-op. There's challenge modes. That game's just packed. So obviously being able to make such a high quality product at the start allowed them to get a larger budget and to make something even cooler.
Right on. This next one is kind of fun. Coming from Nintendo Life, Team Cherry changes title of Final Hollow Knight content pack due to name clash. Originally, the expansion was to be called Gods and Glory, and now it's just Godmaster. They got.
What was the name clash?
Gods and Glory. I'm pretty sure it's
a mobile game.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a mobile game. Okay. That's what I was wondering. I think Godmaster stands out a little bit more because I've never seen.
They specifically say it's 100 times cooler than the other name.
Yeah, I would echo that statement.
I'm glad they figured that out like before they launched it. I'm still surprised it took them so long to figure out like maybe we should change that.
Bringing us forward a little bit, new Fortnite patch adds new weapon, brand new mode, and the return of Sniper Shootout. This also comes from Nintendo Life. So if you're into Fortnite, there's some new stuff to work around with. The latest limited time mode added to the game is called Soaring 50s. This mode is a twist on the traditional 50 versus 50 mode, featuring an extra emphasis on mobility. Gliders can be redeployed when falling from large heights, and additional impulse grenades, bounce pads, and launch pads will be spawned throughout the map. Essentially, when you're in midair and greater than 10 meters up, you'll be able to press jump to deploy your glider. I think that's an interesting new take on a mode.
Yeah.
Certainly changes the dynamic of playing Fortnite in that kind of setting.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're switching it up.
Hey!
I really enjoy seeing what Fortnite and Epic Games does with Fortnite and just kind of adding new modes, and they're doing timed events. It always keeps it fresh and interesting. And obviously they have seasons of competitive play and as well. And they're doing really, really well for themselves. And Fortnite's a good game.
They seem to be having fun. Like they just come up with ideas that I'm pretty sure like the team's just like, this would be a blast to just do.
Yeah, man, PUBG must be kicking themselves right now.
I would say they attract different audiences, but they really don't.
Well, they do. Well, they do and they don't. But I think the reason I said that was because one of the reasons the Fortnite Battle Royale mode is so big is because PUBG made a fuss about it, and that just accelerated the popularity of Fortnite.
Fortnite arguably realized the concept better.
Yes.
They added Bob the Builder. He can fix it.
Moving us forward a little bit, another story from Sega. Team Sonic Racing is adding Silver the Hedgehog, Blaze the Cat, and Vector the Crocodile. I think we read in a previous story a while ago that the team comps were not adjustable. Like the 3 characters you play with are the 3 that you are stuck with. So these characters are a team. It's kind of weird. These 3 have never been associated with one another. I mean, I guess aside from Silver and Blaze, maybe. Well, even that, no, because Blaze was in the advanced games. So yeah, these characters have nothing to do with each other.
I guess they just put them together because they look nice together. I like the contrast of the colors and the characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I am. This is a game that I'm interested in because I like. Sonic has done some really good kart racers, especially in the last few years. And so this I like the idea of like a specific, like a team racing game where that's the emphasis.
Gameplay trailer they released like a while ago that really went into the details of the gameplay elements that actually, work amongst team members. And I was really interested in a lot of the stuff they were doing. Like you can slipstream into your friends' slipstreams exclusively.
Yeah.
Or you can give your friends boosts or even trade items amongst each other while racing.
Right. So they really, encourage the cooperation, which is obviously super important. So the more ways you can interact in meaningful ways to give each other an advantage, like it just sounds really interesting. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on this one and seeing how it develops over time.
I think I figured it out why these 3 are a team. All 3 of them were late to class the day they were picking groups.
So they got the teacher put them together.
Yep, that's the story here.
And then a brief mention, Ghostlight Games is currently working on a project that is a Nintendo Switch JRPG port. So not any...
I wonder what it could be.
Yeah, so that's really all there is to say about that. That brings us to the end of our news. But there is some games to talk about. There's actually one story I left out, but that's because we can just talk about it here. If you were here with us over the weekend, we played... Or not over the weekend, it's Friday. If you were here yesterday, we played Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, the demo, on stream. So the demo is now live, and you can play online or local multiplayer with it. All the weapon classes are there and available, including all of the different hunting styles. So there's a really good, just overall look at what Monster Hunter is with this demo. So
if you're unfamiliar, it's a good way to jump in and kind of figure out, like, for me, dual swords, I tried out a couple different styles, and I decided striker style is the one that resonates best with me. And so for the most part, like I'm already decided from this what I'm gonna play as when the game actually launches.
Yeah, I was just upset that like some of the classes took away certain moves, and then that really frustrated me until I realized like how to utilize certain styles and what advantages they gave you, and then I kind of changed my tune. Though I think at this point I still prefer the more traditional just guild style, because that's what I'm most familiar with. But once this game comes out and I get playing a few hundred hours into it, maybe I'll change my tune.
I am definitely like really attached to the adept style, because when you get good at adept style, you take a lot less damage for one thing, and you land a lot more attacks. Because specifically like with the greatsword, I want to say you lose your ability to just charge the weapon at all, which is like the focus of that weapon entirely. Or no, maybe that's aerial style. But anyway, like with the depth style, every time you dodge, you jump away in one direction, but then your hunter will start charging in a direction that you press in. So I can dodge back and then run forward, hold X, pull my weapon out, and actually start charging the 3-charge attack while running.
Right.
Let it go, get the attack in, get an additional move in, dodge, and repeat. So, like, it really encourages me to get in there, master the timing, and then just deal a lot more damage.
Yeah.
If I had any chance of mastering the timing, then I'd consider that style. But every time I've tried it, I don't think I've ever been able to pull off the timing.
Paul, we're gonna have a lot of time spent in this game,
and we'll be playing it on controllers rather than a 3DS screen.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like 40 hours into this, and I could never figure it out. But I mean, maybe timing just isn't my strong suit. That's why I play as the dual blades, because I can zip around and just run away.
The timing's kind of benign, though, because there's no indicator of when you should really press the button. But once you figure it out, you don't really ever forget. So it's just a matter of kind of experimenting, and eventually when you do it the first time, then you know.
Yeah.
That said, I had a lot of fun playing this with you guys. And I'm actually,
even though we got our butts handed to us on the hard one.
That just means we get to play it in the main game and actually strive to beat it.
Right.
I had a lot of fun with this. I love Monster Hunter World. It's nice to get to go back and experience the classic style of Monster Hunter, even though it's really not entirely classic, but it's classic to a point. And to have it on Nintendo Switch. So there's all that.
I'm glad to finally have it on the Switch.
Yeah, this comes a year after release in Japan.
I was starting to think this was never going to come, and I'm glad it just finally did, because I honestly couldn't even... I put 40 hours in the 3DS version, and I could not remember that I did. I thought I did like 10 hours. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. Personally, I think it's a bad sign. It just was not memorable.
I don't think it's so much that as it was that the game came out at a bad time. I was not in a position... I actually just didn't have anybody to play with.
I think I was moving at the time.
My main crew were unavailable, so it was just me by myself. And the single player in Generations Ultimate, for one, is not good, and is not how you want to experience Monster Hunter in general. So
right.
I just kind of put the game down.
I almost play Monster Hunter exclusive with you guys and with other friends.
Yeah. So. There's that. That said, Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate will not be like World in the fact that the single player and multiplayer are separate. So there are two different experiences. That's going to be weird to get back used to doing, but I'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I also started playing Super Castlevania 4 on my Super Nintendo Classic. I wanted to get some more experience with the Castlevania series, and Super Castlevania 4, from what I've been told, is essentially just Castlevania 1 again. So, it seemed like a good place to start. It's a lot of fun. Actually, I was having a great time. The way that they've translated Simon's moveset into his Smash moveset, it's really something special. Like, the animations are just 1-to-1. His walk cycle is 1-to-1. His jump animation is 1-to-1. The the special moves, the axe, the holy water. I forget what the other one was. And then you have the vampire killer. All of it just, it fits. Oh, it was that one move where he just kind of holds it out and you can swing it in whatever direction. That actually comes from Super Castlevania 4. You can just hold the button and press the joystick, or the joystick, the D-pad.
I've played enough of Super Castlevania 4.
Super Castlevania.
Super Castlevania 4. Enough to know that you could do that. Which I also played on my SNES Classic, which reminds me that I would like to purchase a NES Classic at some point. But I digress. And I should also play Super Castlevania 4. Maybe I'll just play it and beat it before you.
I'm currently on level 6. I'm in the first level inside of Dracula's castle.
Ooh.
So the first 5 levels are leading up to Dracula's castle, and then you get inside of Dracula's castle, and the difficulty spikes like 5-fold.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was about to say, how difficult is the game up until that point?
I breezed through the first 5 levels like it was nothing, like I had played the game my whole life. And then I got to level 6, and that's when they really start to try and challenge you, and it's pretty intense.
Okay.
But I look forward to playing more of that. And that's really all I've been up to.
All I've done is the Generations Ultimate demo.
Yeah. I also, obviously, if you want to know, that we played Ultimate, like Generations Ultimate, we did the stream, and it's all there.
VOD's
and it's
still
a great time. VOD's still up.
It's not going anywhere.
In addition to that, I played about half an hour of Breath of the Wild today, just because I wanted to relax. And that's what that game has become to me. It's just a really relaxing experience. So I dug around for a while, and I found a new shrine. I was specifically like shrine hunting, right? So I'm like, okay, this area doesn't have a lot of shrines around, and I'll go there. And then all of a sudden, something comes up, and I find it in the side of a cliff, and it was a major test of strength, and I had a good time just screwing around and climbing. It was funny. I was like, man, I gotta get up there. How do I get up there?
Thank you, Alexander, for the subscription.
And then I used Rivali's Gale, and then I was like, oh no, I didn't get up high enough. And I'm like, wait, I can climb on everything. And then it doesn't get old. It doesn't get old. And it always surprised me, is like, why isn't this in every game? I mean, I make the joke constantly, It's like, oh, this game should be like Breath of the Wild. But seriously, I can't wait till we see more Breath of the Wild style games with their own twists and other defining features that set it apart from Breath of the Wild. But yeah, what a great experience.
Yeah, I've been enjoying my experience playing through it again. You can play it along with me in our series, or my series, Hyrule Diaries, which is up on the channel. I'm 2 episodes deep. Episode 3 is coming out next week. Yeah, I'm experiencing the magic of Breath of the Wild all over again, just by starting from the beginning. Master Mode makes very subtle changes, but enough changes that's making it interesting for me. You have the platforms, the Octoroks will fly up, and you'll have bokoblins on them with bows, and they'll shoot at you from up above.
Right.
My first experience with that, I think, was pretty interesting. Obviously, there's a Lynel on the Great Plateau now, so that's there.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. I really love that game, and I'm pretty much in agreement with you that I think whatever the sequel to Breath of the Wild is, or the next iteration of Zelda on Switch, is going to be something really special.
Yeah.
No doubt.
That pretty much brings us to the end of our show. That's the end of Nintendo Stuff Podcast Episode 7. If you want to check out more of what we do, head over to the channel. You can subscribe and like this video if you had a good time. Like I said, I got 3rd episode of Hyrule Diaries coming up next week. We also have the Breakdown Podcast live at 7:30 on Monday, and we have a special guest, Logan, if you want to talk about that.
So we will be having an acquaintance of mine, Devin Larson, on. And he is a developer and a creative. He does a lot of really, really cool things. He also has put together some organizational, community-based kind of just communities, right? Online communities for developers in the Midwest. And so he'll be on to talk about that, and then just join us for the discussion. Yeah, and that'll be a lot of fun. It's always interesting to get perspectives from people who do something very, very different than I do. And so this is very, very different because I don't develop games. I like games. And I've also seen some of his more abstract gaming work, and I think that makes him particularly interesting. Real cool guy from how much time I've spent with him. So look forward to that.
Sweet. If you want to follow us, you can follow me on Twitter at Babababs. You can follow Logan at LoggyDubs. You can follow Paul at Gunnysaurus. You can follow us as a collective at Breakroom Arcade. We are also, well, I should say we also have a Discord server. There's a link to that in the description. If you want to chat with us, talk about games, talk about what you're excited about, or if you want to play with people, if you're looking for a match, or if you want someone to play the new Monster Hunter Ultimate demo with, there are opportunities for that in the Discord server, so make sure to check that out and join us. We'd love to have you. If you really like what we're doing here and you want to support us further, there is a link to our Patreon in the description. All the details for what you get out of that are in there. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. If you do, we'd really appreciate it. If you don't, we just love that you're here. So, thank you for being a fan.
I love you more than Brandon does.
Yesterday, we had just passed 600 subscribers, and we are currently well on our way to 700. Not sure where all this is coming from. Like, that Smash Direct, man, it's going a long way, I think. But
yeah,
it's
good though.
Nice to have all you guys here. So thanks for sticking it out with us. We're hoping to bring you some really cool content and to keep growing. If you want to help us grow, if you go to the podcast sources, whatever your favorite one is, specifically Apple Podcasts would help us out. Leave us a rating. That would really help on the download side for us, and we'd really appreciate it if you did that. With all that in mind, if you like what we're doing, make sure to come back on Monday for our next show, Breakdown Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time. So don't break your backs, break in the games, but for now, break time's over.